You've got 4 quarterbacks coming off the board in round 1 in Vegas. Us talking about how tricky this class was, that's kind of crazy. Kenny Pickett going 6 to the Panthers. You had Malik Willis to the Steelers, Matt Corral to the Seahawks, and the Lions select Desmond Ridder with their final pick of the night. So, guys, what do you think? Do 4 quarterbacks get drafted in the first round? I mean, Kyle, we were talking all week. This isn't exactly the strongest quarterback class we've seen, but do teams find themselves talking themselves into a quarterback, as we often see on night 1?
Yeah, I've learned not to underestimate the thirst for quarterbacks at this time of year. And yet, Peter's got 4, but Peter, you kind of have like a buzzer beater 4, because the Lions at 32 with Ridder like at the buzzer. I'm going to say probably not. And let's contextualize this. Let's look over the last decade, just by the year, how many usually go. All right, I know this looks like a lot of numbers, but go through with me. This is how many quarterbacks drafted in the first one. Just a little context. Left column, 2018. See, it says 5. That's the Baker, Darnold, Rosen, Allen, Lamar. Some real horses in there. 2013 on the right side. See, there's only one. The only one taken was E.J. Manuel. Yeah. Sorry, Peter.
E.J. Manuel.
Guess who else was in that draft?
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, who showed up to the first round and did not get drafted. That's Mike Glennon, Matt Barkley. So there's ups and downs. Even when you think there's a robust draft that goes down, it really does average to about 4. I just try to, the only way you can really try to calculate this is, like, who's got vacancies? Who's got interest? All right, so Carolina's obvious. Seattle and Peter, you have both of them taking quarterbacks. You also have Pittsburgh taking a quarterback who's pseudo-vacant, and there's some of those pseudo-vacancies. I still think much of the talk that I'm hearing is so much about we are battening down the hatches for 2023. We're already pre-thirsty for that one, like the drink before you get to the bar. So I think, listen, it's not going to be 1. It's not going to be 0. I don't think it's going to be 2. But 4, I'm not sure if Peter's thing comes through within the last pick, they'll get to 4. I will go under on this, Dante, at the risk of putting that term out.
I'm with you, and all great points. I had some of those very points myself.
Okay, good. That always works.
And like
that's good for TV. Dante, is there anything you want to say that I didn't say? Because let me say it right now.
Yes, I do want to say. I'm with you on the buzzer beater. Like, that's what, a 4th quarterback going into in the first round at 32?
It's the first round?
I don't see it. I see 2 guys. I can see Kenny going to the Panthers. I like that. And I can see Malik Willis going to either the Pittsburgh Steelers or my preference, the Atlanta Falcons.
8th overall.
8th overall. I think that'd be a great fit for them. That town will embrace. Let's just call it what it is. They will embrace a black quarterback. Look what they did when Michael Vick was there. That time was a buzz because of Michael Vick having a black quarterback at the helm. He has a Magic Johnson-like smile. He can captivate a room. And I love his improvisation skill set as a quarterback, a la Big Ben, a la Russell Wilson. I think he'd be a great fit in Atlanta. Marcus Mariota is obviously not the answer. He's just a filler in right now, replacing Matt Ryan. I like Malik Willis going to the Falcons, but as far as 4 quarterbacks, I just don't see it. It's not a big draft for outstanding quarterbacks. No one really caught my attention. In years past, the Deshaun Watsons, the Joe Burrows, they've always caught my attention, made me tune in to a team that actually wasn't my team. This particular year, I've had to learn about these guys through the NFL Combine, through the draft process. No one really jumps off other than Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis.
That's a very fair and accurate thing, and I would assume that you didn't know Malik Willis's name until it's in the either. I mean, that's where we're at. We're starting to convince ourselves that, hey, Desmond Ridder won 44 games in college. He's a great winner, but like, when you saw Trevor Lawrence and you saw Joe Burrow and you saw Deshaun Watson, you're like, that's an NFL quarterback. I'm not sure. So I said it earlier in the show. I think all 5 of the first-round quarterbacks from last year would have gone before all of these quarterbacks this year. And that sounds like some great condemnation against this quarterback class. But your guys are acting as if these coaches and GMs are sticking around forever. Like, desperate times call for desperate measures. And if you look in Carolina, like Matt Rule and Ben McAdoo, that's the head coach and the offensive coordinator, and Scott Fitterer, the GM, like year after year of not making the playoff. And now it's Matt Rule year number 3 with another quarterback question. Like, does he not just say, hey, I'm going and getting my quarterback, I'm going to put my name on it, and at least I know that it was my guy?
Well, he definitely does. The 3 others, though.
The 3 others?
I think the Panthers, sure.
You go a guy like Malik Willis.
Okay.
Malik Willis probably not going to be ready to go week 1 of the first year. More of a Trey Lance situation where it's a smaller school. We haven't seen it. So which teams maybe does the coach have a little security? And the front office has a little security. And it's like, I think Malik Willis could go as high as number 2. Wow. I think the Detroit Lions could take Malik Willis, where it's like, everyone loves Dan Campbell, everyone loves Brad Holmes, they're building, so there's no expectations. Like, Malik Willis at number 2 to the Lions would not shock me at all if they love the guy.
Just sit behind Goff. Right.
Sit behind Goff a year. There's no pressure. And then we'll get him when you're ready. Like, let's go. Andrew Marchand writes for the New York Post. Used to cover the Yankees, and now he does sports media. And he always has this funny thing where Andrew says, everyone wants to cover sports media now because it was all about Aikman and Romo and where's Peyton Manning going and who's taking this seat on this show and all that stuff. And you start talking about it, and now I think about ratings of the draft, like, and the interest level of the draft. And a lot of people are like, there's no quarterbacks. I'm not sure the draft is as exciting this year. Quite the opposite. Because it's such an unknown, I think the draft is as intriguing as ever. The NFL is still as popular as ever. The Jets and Giants fans don't care who they're taking. They might have quarterbacks. I find it fascinating that there's still such an unknown and that we don't have the Trevor Lawrence and that we don't have the Deshaun Watson draft prospect in this one. So my pitch to watching the NFL draft, we don't know what we don't know. And I think some crazy stuff could happen in this year's 2022 NFL draft.
And it's also hard to say which quarterback will be the first one off the board, right? Like, that, to me, is very intriguing because I think in years past, there might have been a shock or two. But I feel like amongst the 4, and I'm talking about Malik Willis, I'm talking about Kenny Pickett, I'm talking about Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell might sneak up in there. You just don't know where it's going to shake out. I tend to think there's going to only be 2. And I'm talking about Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett. I think you could see Matt Corral sneak in there. I love the argument that you made for Matt Corral going to the Seahawks. But I also tend to think that these teams, we're going to hear that they're not interested in the quarterback, playing a little gamesmanship leading up to the draft. And then I think they just can't help themselves. In other words, they think to themselves, we do need to start thinking about the future. I think a lot of teams think that there's a lot of value in getting like a Jimmy G on your roster so that you can trade him later, develop him behind your Tom Brady. So we'll see if it happens. But just looking at this, I'm right there with you. I had to do a lot of catch-up research. We talked about this extra week in the season this year. I felt like it was season, playoffs, Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden we're at the Combine, and I found myself in my draft book going, I don't know these guys that well. And I feel like that's just the general public, too. So that's why you got to tune into Good Morning Football.
Really
so Peter
quickly,
and the group can educate
the Kenny Pickett pick at 6. That's high for Kenny Pickett. I don't think other teams would take him. Here are the connections to the Panthers if you're watching at home and you're wondering why. Okay, here it is. Kenny Pickett went to Pitt. David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, is not only a Pitt graduate, but he is one of the biggest donors to Pitt. He has seen Kenny Pickett before. You go one step further. Matt Rule, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, he recruited Kenny Pickett out of high school, and there are photos all over the internet of Kenny Pickett at Temple and the two of them together. Like, there's a comfort and a familiarity there that I don't think exists with other teams. I don't think Kenny Pickett's a top 10 prospect in this draft. I think if he goes in the top 10, Carolina Panthers are the team that would do it.